All right, folks, I want to share with you something that I believe should be able to help every person holding AMC stock to be able to have a better understanding and a better visibility at when it should be time to actually get out, to exit. What is everybody's just wondering what is the highest price AMC can go. Even if anybody has, and everyone has its own approach of determining or assessing that price target, the moon price, whether it's the floor or whatever. Well, something that we didn't have so far was, hey, have the shorts covered? Because you look at the short interest doesn't take into account the fact that from now on, so far at this point, short sellers in any stock, doesn't specify with AMC, with any stock, wasn't obliged. It wasn't mandatory for them, according to the SEC, to disclose the short selling positions. So how come the short interest data that we have from Ortex, for example, or Fintel is accurate? No, it's not accurate because it doesn't give you that data points, those data points. And this is crucial because a bunch of these guys that are short selling AMC usually go through dark pools, all right? And they don't even disclose that, all right? Now, that is going to change. And because it's going to change, it's going to be a lot more easier for you to know exactly and have a better exit strategy to know exactly, okay, at this point, potentially it's time to start exiting because it may reach the high in maybe the next few minutes or maybe the next few days. Why? Think about it for a second, folks. The SEC is now telling us that the droppers are going to be a lot more regulated, there's going to be a lot more transparency on how the drop pools operate. But on top of that, short sellers have now the obligation to disclose their activity in any stock, but definitely here as well, at the end of the day, the trading session. And monthly, if you own more than minimum 2.5% of the total outstanding shares, you also need to disclose that activity on a monthly basis, on top of the daily basis of what you're doing. So it's going to be a lot more harder to actually hide whoever is shorting the stock, meaning the short data interest is going to be actually more accurate. If the short interest is more accurate, let's just say tomorrow it's at 100%, because I do believe it's around there, not the 20% or the 18% we're seeing so far on Ortex. But the reality is, if the short interest is now more accurate, it gives you as a short squeezer strategist, or somebody trying to squeeze the shorts, is give you that ability and that visibility to know exactly if the shorts have covered and when they have covered, because whenever they start covering, the short interest is supposed to drop because they are returning the borrowed shares, all right? Or they are burning the synthetic shares and the naked shorts, all right? So given that, it means the higher the short interest goes, the higher and the doubling, the more they're shorting. But the less and the lower we have the short interest going, it means the higher return shares we are having, meaning the shorts are covering. So if we do have a short interest, let's say at 58% or 60% or even 100%, all right, which I wouldn't be surprised if it's the case for AMC, literally when it hits, it started decreasing significantly, the share price will be also going up significantly, all right? So in the midst of the short squeeze at the highest, the short interest data could give you that ability to actually say, okay, now it's been the lowest since maybe the last 2-3 weeks when they started actually buying up real shares. Then you will know when is the time for you to go out. Now, this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky, because not every one of us will be sensitive to the same price target. That's how I say, and I've always said this, your price target is not my price target, because we don't have the same position size. We don't have the same household financial situation. We don't have the same, pretty much the same financial situation, all right? If I own 20,000 shares, and there are people owning 20,000 shares in AMC as retail, not as, suits, maybe it doesn't make sense for me to wait for $1,000 because at 800, I'm already good. But if I only own maybe, 5,000 or 1,000 shares, I may be able to wait a little bit more to see maybe 2,000 or 1,500. Why would I sell at 800? Because I can still be patient. All right. So given that, there's going to be a point where even though the short interest is at the lowest, the share price will start kind of, swinging, meaning today it's at maybe 800, goes back down tomorrow to maybe 500 or 700 because people sold, especially swing traders and day traders. And then boom, tomorrow people get back in, push it again higher, etc., etc. So you have to take that into consideration. But with the new regulations that are supposed to be implemented in March, if they do the work and the purpose, that they're supposed to do, well, it's going to be a lot more easier for you to determine your exit strategy. So I'm counting on that, but let's just see how it goes.